What up, guys? Welcome to episode 11, actually, of 5 p.m. at Monty's. With your normal co-host, Spiked Rob and Cheddar Bobby. We're actually pleased to be joined by our first guest, Grant. His Twitter name is Grant Long with 3 G's, and also you might find his YouTube at NMD TV. And he also has a Twitch at GVision with 2 N's. How are we doing today?
Man, I'm doing great, man. I'm ready for tonight. I'm ready to see where they rank us tonight so I can get on Twitter and complain like I always do. So I'm excited.
Hell yeah. So if you guys haven't followed Grant before, he has great content with Kane's analysis, and he also has some funny Madden videos that he makes. Big Ravens fan, am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love my Ravens, man. We're going to get a dub tonight, too. So it's a big day for me, man.
Big day. So just before we get into UNC, we'll just recap Duke a little bit. We smashed them 48-0. Nothing much to say there. They're a 2-8 team. But for the Canes, it's good to see us handle it for a Power 5 team and dominate a team for once.
Right, man. And I think, I don't think we can just look over and just say, oh, Miami beat Duke. It's how they beat Duke, right? We destroyed them, and we start the game off with a fumble. A lot of people forget that Jalen Knighton fumbled the ball, and that team could have been like, oh, here we go, off the bye week. But what did we do? We rallied, and we showed that we're the better team. And not only did we show we were a better team, we dominated, put our backups in, and dominated too. So, yeah, we do want to say that Duke is a 2-win team, but we took care of business and the fashion of how we took care of business. And then, we put some backups in, and they took care of business. I mean, when you shut out, if y'all look at college football this year, it's been offensive explosions, right? We shut out Duke.
No.
And not to mention, we were preparing for a totally different team, and then they said, hey, you're going to play Duke. And we still got prepared, and we were still able to shut them out. I think if we would have just beat them, then we could look over the game. But to put out the first shutout since 2001, I think that's big time.
It's big time. I love the growth from Manny Diaz, especially this season. And also, I wanted to see more consistency from Rhett Lashley, and it's good to see our offense just dominate like that. What are your thoughts, Rob?
So this whole season we've been talking about just no synergy. When the defense does well, the offense disappears. And when the offense does well, the defense, it's just a boat race back and forth. And against Duke, the defense came out stronger, but the offense, once they started going, they didn't stop. I mean, they were kicking field goals, going for it on 4th down all the way through the end of the game. And I loved that because it was our first complete win since, I guess, FSU. But, Duke's not a huge rival. We didn't have any real reason to do that other than we needed to show that we could. So I love it all around. Great showing. And from our backups too, guys that were injured coming back and playing, stuff like that. I wanted to shout out Navon Donaldson dominating on the offensive line. Loved it. And then Wayman Steed coming out hot, and he got to play instead of Zach McLeod. And it was big. He had a great game. I mean, all of our linebackers did, but it was just good to see a guy like that who's been injured prone for a few years now coming out and having an opportunity and putting up big numbers. And then one last for Ched is, I told you, Ched, that if we put Bubba Bolden near the line of scrimmage, he will do good things. And my man led the team, 9 tackles, bunch of them right at the line of scrimmage. That's where he lives. So I hope that's where he stays for the rest of the season.
I just wanted to say, when you look at the offensive side, and Rob made a good point, look at some of the weak points of this Miami team's offensive line. Well, we had Donaldson come back, hadn't played all season. He took most of the season off to get in shape. He made a huge impact. I mean, when you're looking at some of those highlights, I'm like, De'Aaron King actually got time to throw? It's amazing. And then we start off the game with featuring who? Brevin Jordan. He's coming back. So that was good to get him going. And then Wayman Steed, our linebacking core hasn't been the best, but it was good to see him and Corey Flagg very active and playing well. So I think that's just something you can look at the game and say, once again, we did blow them out, but we're getting prepared for North Carolina and hopefully a New Year's Six bowl. We just added a couple key pieces in Brevin Jordan back, Navon Donaldson, and Wayman Steed also had a good game. So I think those are some takeaways to look at from this Duke game.
For sure. And yeah, Corey Flagg, as you mentioned, like big time. So we'll switch into the offense for UNC at this point. Nothing to mention with the quarterback. Derek King's our guy. Like, there's no, like, he's the head of the snake. As you mentioned, big time that Brevin's back. I just hope. Do you think he's going to be like fully recovered and ready to go for UNC?
Oh, I 100% expect him to. I mean, if you go back and look at that plays, there were specific plays designed for Brevin. If he wasn't close to healthy, I don't think you go out and design plays specifically for him. So I think what they actually were trying to do is get him back in game shape. And I think with us having those 3 weeks off, with him having a game versus Duke, he'll be ready to go versus North Carolina.
Hell yeah. And also, the one thing I just obviously you can see the offense is so much more better and clicks with Brevin's utilized. But the only thing I want to see Mallory use a little bit more, because there's our best weapons that we can use, and like defenses can't cover them except for Clemson.
I agree. And when you look at how this season's gone, we went through, a 3-4 game skid where it looked like the offense wasn't as good. And a lot of the blame went to the wide receivers, which was justified. But I think people got to realize a lot of those problems started to show up when we took Brevin when Brevin was hurt, and now the receivers are making plays. You add back a piece like Brevin Jordan, and then of course Will Mallory held it down while he was gone. But when you have Brevin in there, he's the guy where a defensive coordinator has to game plan to stop. He has to say, okay, I need a linebacker and a safety, or I need both. And then when the defense starts to focus on him, it's going to make the wide receiver's job easier. And it's going to make Will Mallory's job easier. And definitely, like you said, huge shout out to Will Mallory because he did hold down the fort. I think it's tough to feature both of them, but it's good to have both of them because you never know which one Miami could go to. I mean, this week we could have Brevin in there and all the focus could go to Brevin and Mallory could have a career game.
Yeah, besides King, Brevin is the number one guy that everyone on the defense targets for offense. They make the offense move. And what were you saying, Rob?
So just to jump onto that, Grant, when the first touchdown, the touchdown catch that Brevin had, he actually, because Roman broke it down, and I looked at the play as well, and they actually motioned him to be right next to Will. And then Will broke out, took one safety, and Brevin took the other. And so the safety's screwed at that point. There's literally no good options there. And so he took Mallory because Mallory was on the line and released first, and that let Brevin get that opening, and King hit him with a perfect throw. But those types of plays are exactly what we can and should be doing on a regular basis. But to your point, Ched, since both of them will be out there, either one, you're going to have to pick your poison. So one of them is going to eat and the other one's going to be kind of the decoy and vice versa. So it would be hard to throw it to our tight ends 20 times a game to make sure they all get catches. But, I would like to see it.
For sure. It definitely works better when they're both on the field at the same time. And we haven't had that much this season yet. And so now that we have it for, besides Clemson, our biggest game since then, it's going to be huge. Grant touched on the wide receiver stepping up a little bit. Great to see Harley get another 100-yard game. Just nothing much to say on that. I'm just happy for them and to see them keep improving.
I just thought that, I thought when Mike Harley came out and said that they weren't practicing hard, and I think when he said that, he put a bullseye on his back.
He did.
Because if you come out and say y'all weren't practicing hard and now y'all are going to start, if you have a bad game, it's going to be all eyes on you. So I think it was big time that he put that bullseye on his back, put the pressure on him, and ever since then, he's made big play after big play.
Yes.
We called that. So I did say, because he said it after a big win where he had a great game, and he said, well, we weren't practicing hard as a post-game press conference. Mm-hmm. He came out and said that as if to say, yeah, we played well, and it's because we weren't pressuring ourselves. And so I told Ched, that's a leader move. That is straight, he wants to take control of the wide receiver room and put the pressure on everybody to continue to perform at a high level himself first. And he's done it, I think, every week. Trying to remember the last time he didn't have a really, really good game since he put the pressure on himself. Maybe not 100 yards every game, but coming out with big catches, trying to make every opportunity count. So, but
it's been at least like 3 games since he said that. I think he's had at least 200-yard games for sure.
Right.
But I mean, he's always been a leader in the locker room, and like especially in the past years, with like when Jeff Thomas was going to leave, he like brought him back, and it's just like, as I said earlier, just happy to see him like put it all together and stuff. But moving on to the running game, we called it. Rob and I called it like last week. Cam Harris is going to be pissed off because he's going to play well. I think we said Rob, did I say like 15 for like 86, and he ended up with like 15 for 96.
Something like that. Yeah, I said that he should get 15, and then and I think you agreed with that. And we're hoping to see him break 100 yards or get real close to it. And then 10 for Chaney, 10 for Rooster. But Rooster not only had the fumble, he got hurt early on, but I think Chaney ended up with about 10 carries as well. So it was like almost a perfect breakdown.
Yeah, Chaney had 9 for 62, and yeah, perfect breakdown. So and he just had Rooster got hurt earlier. He had 2 for 11. But any thoughts on the running backs, Grant?
No, man, I think the running backs played well. I hate to see Chaney's hurt. I hope he gets back. But I would like to see – I mean, not Chaney Knighton, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I would like to see Chaney featured more. I think he has a little bit more of an upside as of right now. I'm not disrespecting Cam, and I'm not saying Cam didn't have a great game. He did. But when I watched the tape, it just feels like Chaney has that extra juice, that extra pop. Mm-hmm. And I think I like Cam as a leader, and I do think Cam should start the game, but I think now it's time to start to feature Chaney just a little bit more.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We've talked about that on past podcasts. I saw a pretty cool comparison before we hopped on here today. He's sort of like Frank Gore from 2001.
Yeah, I like that because he can run it or he can catch it. He glides. Of course, you got that number 2 on your chest. But I've seen him run players over, and I've seen him make players miss in the open field. I've seen him run in between tackles. At times, it seems like Cam is slow with the get off. He's slow. Once he gets the ball, those first 2 steps are very slow. But when Chaney gets it, it's pop. And the thing about Cam is, if Cam gets after those first 2 steps, and Cam is still upright, he's gonna get some good yards. I mean, we even saw him juking and jiving. But it's his startup, which what worries me, because I'm like, man, especially on first down, our offense is predicated on getting positive yards on first down. That way we can continue to go fast. So I think Cam's doing good, especially as his leadership role as well. Mm-hmm. And I think Chaney and Knighton, they're next up.
Yeah, I think sometimes with Cam also just like, besides like with the first 2 steps, sometimes his vision, reading holes initially. And one last thing about Chaney is that I feel like he's like so much like Derrick Henry light. Like by the time like he like, as you said, start off with Cam, but the thing like he reminds me like by the time he's like running people over in the fourth quarter, like he's making the defense like tired as fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like he's just like taking all their energy.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why he's so good at that is because of his quick step. I mean, they ran him out on that. It was basically in the flat, but it was like a screen to him, and he got the ball with his back to the line, basically to the line to gain, and he turned and was gone. Like he just had 2-3 steps before he even. It was so smooth and so quick that it's perfect for I would say a spread, quick, fast-paced offense like what Rhett Lashley has. I'd say if you had like you got someone under center running I form or something like that, Cam running downhill, he already has his first 2 or 3 steps. He'd be great for that kind of offense. We just don't have that kind of offense. So he's done really well with what we've got. But yeah, I mean, I think everybody knows Chaney's the future. It's just a question of, does Cam stick around for it, or does he go try to make the NFL after this year and let Chaney kind of take over the reins, and it'd be him, Rooster, and I can't remember our new guy coming in, the recruit. He's supposed to be really, really good too. It's going to be a pack. Yeah, Thad Franklin. So I don't know. I don't know what we said last week was that if Cam wants to make the NFL, he has to come out and show something against Duke, and he absolutely took the opportunity to do that. and I'm very happy for him. And I hope that he finishes the year strong, doing exactly that, so he feels confident that he can enter the draft and not only make a little space, but just end on a good note. I mean, he's the leader of basically our running backs for the next 2, 3, 4 years. I mean, this, like I said, the room's going to be stacked. It's not going to probably be the same level as when Gore was there and Portis and McGahee, but it's
and Davenport, yeah.
Right. I mean, there's not going to be any more running back rooms like that running back room. You know what I'm saying? Those are one of the kind players. And but I like you said, I do like what we have in the future. And I think Chaney is showing us flashes, but Cam's holding down his spot. And I think the offensive line played well. And the thing about Cam is, I know some people Cam hasn't had a lot of space to make plays as well. So with Donaldson coming back, with Navon coming back, I think that's going to help out our running backs as well.
Grant, do you think Cam leaves after this year?
No, I think he comes back.
Okay.
I think he comes back.
So, yeah, you started talking about the offensive line a little bit. We'll go into that. Donaldson, big time coming back. Rob, you're usually the offensive line guy. What's your thoughts?
I didn't see the fourth quarter. I did see it, but I didn't check the tape to see if we still were playing our starters on offense or not for the offensive line. But up until Nkosi came in, we didn't give up a sack. I think Nkosi came in, we did give up a sack there. He had the one, well, it was actually, I think, a run play to Chaney, but they came out and did well on offense, but they also gave up a sack. I think that was our backups. Everybody who traveled to Duke played. So I think our backup linemen were out there. I don't know exactly how many of them made it on the bus because we had a lot of guys out. We had 15 guys out this time versus 13 against Virginia Tech. But I liked everything that I saw. And as I said, from UAB, this line plays, with one notable exception, this line plays as a unit. They do well as a unit, they fail as a unit, but they try to do everything in just one, whole. And the good news is with Navon in there, that level of where they were as a whole got raised much higher. So just keep it going, guys. Like I said, we weren't expecting drastic improvement in a couple weeks off for an offensive line unit. But if they keep this up against North Carolina, they keep a clean pocket for De'Aaron King, at least on the offensive side of the ball, it should be another boat race. We should be able to torch these guys.
Right. I agree. And I want people to realize, because sometimes I forget this. We added Navon. Now we just got to hold off for these last two games. And then next year we got Isaiah Walker. We got Jalen Rivers. We got some young bucks coming in that in Gary Justice, he's going to have time. He's going to be more familiar with the guys. So I expect our offensive line to play a lot better next year. But I think definitely bringing Navon back gave me a lot of hope for these last two games.
Oh, for sure. And, that recruit McLaughlin's going to be pretty nice next year too. But
we just offered another tackle who's just as tall, freaking athletic. I saw a film of him dunking at 315. So, 6'7", 315, he dunks. Like, good for you, bud. I want him as an outside tackle.
I think Jakai Clark was dunking too before when he was.
Well, that's right. But yeah, I mean, my thing is we don't have the speed on our offensive line to do all these outside runs. That's what we struggle with always. Even when we ran a play against Duke, we ran Corey Gaynor out there from center, and he couldn't get a block on someone in space because they're just not quick enough. And so these new guys coming in, 6'7", again, athletic guys, converted tight end. I think McLaughlin's a converted tight end. Yep. They should be able to cause some damage in space. And now all of a sudden we've got a running game that can go outside and inside the tackles at will and create a lot of trouble for defenses.
Yeah, and I think besides Wilson and Rivers, who aren't playing, I think Donaldson's probably our best, the most highly rated recruit that's on the current offensive line. So the rest of the guys were Rick guys, right?
The rest of them are what?
Donaldson's the most highly rated recruit on the current offensive line, right? Right. Besides Rivers and Walker.
Yeah. Because he was big time coming out, and his first year he played really well. He started to digress a little bit, and unfortunately, I guess he got he had a weight problem.
Yeah.
But I commend him because it would have been easy, especially in these times, to give up, to want to transfer. But he figured out what the problem is. He got with the staff. They created a plan. Because when he said he wasn't going to play this year, I assumed he would end up transferring. Because when you take a kid who's played the last 3 years and he has to sit out, I mean, it doesn't leave a good taste. It takes a mature player to say, okay, I know what the plan is, and he followed the plan. And at least for that Duke game, he looked really good. We'll see how he does against North Carolina next week.
Well, in his rehab, I mean, he had a rehab for like most of the season. And so the fact that he was putting in that work so he could play against Duke, to me, speaks just volumes about his maturity level. Because he's not getting to play. He's not getting in the spotlight, getting really no credit whatsoever. He's just working behind the scenes. And when he gets his opportunity, I mean, he flattened that guy from Duke. Like, that hole was a mile wide because he just took that entire side of the line out. So I'm very happy for him. And I'm glad that he gets to play the next 3 games. Everyone's eligible anyway, but even if they weren't, he gets a 4-game cap. He gets to come back, play 3 games, and play next year too. So I love it.
So moving on to the defense, not much to say on the D-line. Like, they're ferocious as fuck. And, like, I personally love watching Jalen Phillips and Quincy get after it. But the thing is, like, this will be a big, like, a decent test for them because they got to contain Sam Howell, right?
Yeah, that's going to be the key of the game. That's going to be the key is when you look at the teams who've defeated North Carolina, you look at Florida State. They have 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hurries. Notre Dame had 6 sacks, 8 quarterback hurries. And Virginia had about 3 sacks. So they all were able to get to Sam Howell. So the thing with North Carolina is they have 2 great running backs, Michael Carter, Javonte Williams. If they can run the ball, it's going to be stuff to stop them. But if you make them pass the ball, if we get them into a situation where they feel like they've got to drop back multiple times, that's going to fall right into our hands because we've shown it all week after week. This team has been inconsistent at points, but there's one consistency on this team, and that's Quincy Roche, Nesta, Jalen Phillips, and that D-line is going to get after the quarterback. And you look at North Carolina, the way that teams have beaten them is by getting to Sam Howell.
So my question for you, Grant, is how do we get them to those 3rd and longs? Like, in your mind, are we – because Baker came out aggressive. He was putting guys inside the box. He was putting Bubba near the line. Like, everybody was coming downhill and attacking and assuming that Duke was going to be running the ball or not worried about the deep pass as much. And then when we played like North Carolina State or Virginia Tech, guys are 15 yards back at the snap. I mean, is the polar opposite. Do you think against North Carolina we need to be aggressive from the get-go and try to get after them early, and that's where you get pressures and stuff, make them throw the ball away and get to 3rd and long? Or do we be more passive, kind of let everything underneath to start, and then on 3rd down go after him?
Me personally, I think we've got to see if our front 7 can hold up. We've got to see if our D-line can stop their running game, and can the linebackers also help the D-line stop the running games. And then on passing downs, we got to see if we can get pressure with 4. I think we got to fill it out the first time. I don't want to start off blitzing because this is North Carolina. North Carolina got De'Ami Brown, Des Newsome. Both of those guys are very good on the outside. Brown, we saw what he did to Trajan Bandy last year, hit him with the double move because we were being aggressive. I think our front 7, me personally, and I love blitzing defensive coordinators. I'm a big Rex Ryan fan. I'm a big Greg Williams fan, except for this week when he blitzed against the Oakland Raiders. But I love defensive coordinators who want to get after the quarterback. But I think this is a situation where I want to see if our D-line can dominate this game from a running game standpoint and a passing game standpoint. I think we do got to respect Brown and Newsome on the outside. I don't think we can just go balls to the wall. I think we got to fill it out. And this is going to be a big game for our linebackers. Michael Carter and Javonte Williams both are about to hit over 1,000 yards, or about to hit 1,000 yards. So they got good running backs. They got 2 wide receivers. I want to see how can our front 7 stop that run game.
Yeah, so I think even more like we talked about it, like containing Sam Howell's key of the game earlier. I think like the D line, I have full confidence in. They're going to do their stuff, but it's the linebackers, as you just said, that probably the game comes down to. And Rob, you were talking about how Bradley Jennings had a decent game this week, right?
I got to go back and do my edit so that I could show you what he was doing early in the season when he, defended the run and was hitting the line of scrimmage sideways and not even seeing the running back and all that. And then last week, he hit the hole. He followed the guy all the way through, hit him flat at the line. I mean, I almost teared up. It was so beautiful to watch him literally in the space of a couple months go from A to Z and just be so much better at stopping the run by himself. He swallowed that up. One-on-one solo tackle in the hole, which is exactly what you want your inside linebacker to be. If that BJJ shows up for this week, I think we're going to be just fine. But if he goes back and he reverts because this is going to be a more talented offensive line than what they had, NC State has a more talented offensive line than Duke, I just don't want to see him getting back into bad habits, because if he has the same approach, even if he doesn't make the tackle, he'll force the play to be bounced outside or slowed down, or otherwise giving other people an opportunity, because between Nesta and Jalen, the motors on those guys, even if they don't get the initial tackle, they'll run him down from behind. You just have to, as the linebacker, you got to stop the play in front of you. You got to stop these two running backs from getting loose. And I think that Bradley can do it. Are we getting Zach McCloud back this year? Because I'm worried that he hasn't played in like a month and a half now. I don't know if he's a good guy to slide in there on the fly when he's definitely rusty and was struggling himself in run defense. I'd rather have the much faster, younger linebackers out there who can cover sideline to sideline, because they've made Bradley's job a lot easier. Bradley's job is literally just sit and take the middle down. That's it. Don't worry about sideline to sideline. Don't overrun. You've got guys who are way faster covering. He just has to do his job, and he's done a great job of that. So I don't know. Does anybody know about Zach?
Well, I will say this. I want to say something about Bradley Jennings Jr. Earlier I brought up Navon Donaldson, and I think people can say, well, that was only one game against Duke, right? You can say that's only one game against Duke. We got to see what he can do. Bradley Jennings Jr. has been a player that when I watched him week 1, I said, oh, my goodness. And then I watched him week 2, and I said, oh, man. And then he just got better and better and better and better. He's improved a lot since the first week, and I think he's been very good for this team these last couple games, Zach McCloud, I haven't heard anything. I don't know if he's on the C-19 list. I don't know what the deal is, but I will say he just wasn't improving. Jennings, I watched Jennings improve. McCloud wasn't doing that. So I don't know what's going to happen with McCloud, but if it's me, I'm okay with going out there with Bradley Jennings Jr. and Corey Flagg as my linebackers, and then Wayman Steed. I like what he's done. I just haven't seen a lot out of McCloud. It just hasn't been there for me.
I'm fully comfortable with if McCloud doesn't come back. But any thoughts on the secondary before we throw some predictions and wrap it up?
They got to show up.
Yeah,
they're going to get tested. Yeah. They didn't get tested against Duke.
Grant talked about the receivers. Daz Newsome is a problem. I wonder what the situation is with Al Blades.
Corey Couch.
Yeah.
I mean, I love me some Corey Couch.
He's our favorite player on this podcast.
Listen, I did a film breakdown of Corey Couch in high school, and it was a play where the guy had they were on 2-yard line. The office was something like that, and the guy had broken out, and everybody stopped, but Corey Couch, he ran the guy down, and I was like, man, that's the kind of guy I want on my team, and it's good to see he's had a good season with Miami this year, but. This is the game he's going to get tested. This is the game where, especially if there's no Al Blades, which we don't know why Al Blades didn't play, this is the game where to Corey Couch, we need you to come play. DJ Ivy, we need you to come play. Listen, these North Carolina receivers, they will go up and get the ball. If the ball's in the air, they think it's theirs. So our DBs, we can't play passive. We can't let them just catch it and think we're going to tackle it. They will go get the ball, and they will run after the catch. So I agree 100% what Rob said when you say, listen, the DBs, you're going to get tested. And we're going to see what's going to happen.
Daz Newsome is a playmaker. And, yeah, on our prior pods, Corey Couch, as I said, is our favorite guy. We rave for him every single game.
Shout out to Corey, man.
Yeah. Well, and Newsome is not a tall guy, right? Isn't he he's short and quick, just like Corey, right?
Foot, I think, right?
Yeah, like
I don't know his height. But and I don't want people to think I'm just I'm just the North Carolina, like they're unstoppable, because they're not unstoppable.
Yeah.
But they play big. All these receivers, they when I watch them, they go up and attack the ball. All the games I've watched, I'm like, these boys, they want the ball. If the ball's in the air, they think it's theirs, and they may be short or whatever their heights are, but they play big.
Well, from what I saw, like Daz is the big playmaker, but I think he's also the shortest, which is why, in my opinion, you match him up. You literally say to Corey, you find number 5 and you shadow him all over the field, because he's got the skills to shut down someone like Newsome. I don't think Ivy does. It's okay, though, because if Ivy's playing a taller guy who wants to be more physical, Ivy's a bigger dude. He can handle a more physical receiver in terms of trying to stop him at the line, knocking him off his route, all that stuff. Whereas Corey can do that, but is much better at just shadowing someone up and down the field. I think matchups will be very, very important, and how they line up and how we try to line up in response. If we just say, take a left side of the field to Corey, and the first time he breaks up a pass from Howell, they go, okay, well, we're going to go to the right side of the field for the rest of the game. Like, we need to be adaptable. We need to put guys in a position to succeed. And I think Corey's our best cover guy, so he should be covering their best receiver. And we all agree that's Newsome. At least I think it's pretty clear it's Newsome.
Well, the thing about it is the way that Baker plays this defense, if we don't have Al Blaze, then we're going to have – because we want Corey, or they want Corey blitzing. Like they still like Corey in that nickel, going after the quarterback on third down. I don't see him saying – or at least – but to me, Baker isn't the type where he's just going to change things up on the fly. I don't see him saying we're going to take that package out. I think he loves that package. I think we've had success with that package. So DJ Ivy and Al Blaze, you guys on the outside, y'all are going to have to make plays too. I think the secondary is going to get tested, because our D-line won't get back there every time.
Yeah. So let's get into our predictions.
Okay.
I'm going to go 38-27 Canes. I think that they're going to come out pissed because of last year, but it's going to be close, like as usually is for like the first half.
I got Miami winning.
Yeah.
I think the most important to this game is who's going to play, because that's how it is in 2020. A lot of stats can be thrown out, but who's going to be on that field with the whole C-19 situation and contact tracing? So I want to let everybody know right off the bat, that's the number one factor in this game, is who's going to play. But I got Miami winning just because I don't think they're going to be able to stop De'Aaron King, Brevin Jordan, this offense, and I think our D-line is going to dominate.
For sure.
You got to score.
We're not gonna know who's gonna play.
I don't have a score, but I do think I think the first half is gonna be I think the first half, let's say 38-21. I think the first half they're gonna score 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna get a couple bombs on us.
But they're going to shut them down.
We're going to adjust, and I think our offense is going to tire their defense off.
Okay. I'm going to say it's a boat race. I'm going to say something like, what was North Carolina, 45-41, some nonsense like that. I'm going to say that it's 42. We put up 6 touchdowns or something close to it, and they score 5, 42-35, something like that. Because we just literally outlined how they're going to break down our defense, and unless those guys step up with some big picks or something, some big play, even if they get run up the rest of the time, that'll be the difference in the game, in my opinion. But the problem with the bend don't break defense is once it breaks, it breaks. So that's why I hope he switches to a more aggressive defense, in my opinion. But I'll blog about that later.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that'll wrap it up for this week's episode of 5 p.m. Monty's. We really appreciate Grant for coming on. Always welcome back. And once again, follow him on Twitter at Grant Long with 3 Gs. His Twitch is GVision with 2 N's, and his YouTube is NMD TV. Appreciate you having it on, man.
Hey, thank you guys.
And once again, you can follow us at Spiked Rob and Cheddar Bobby. And this is brought to you by Untitled Chapter. Thank you, fellas. Later.
Later.